Hey guys! Today we're going to be looking at informational writing a little bit more. So in the last video that we went over that idea of an introduction to informational writing and how it's different than other types of writing, and that this would be kind of more of the writing that you're going to see typically in your day-to-day life once you leave high school, depending on where you go and what you end up doing. This is going to be the kind of writing that you're going to be asked to write more often, and it's going to be a type of writing that you're going to be encountering in your work life. And so I kind of wanted to delve into this idea of what informational writing looks like, and making sure that you have nice, strong foundational skills in informational writing that will help you to be successful later on. So, if you haven't watched and you haven't done that introduction to informational writing, my suggestion is pause the video here, go back. I do have it on my YouTube channel. And I'm keeping the videos there for obviously this online learning time, but also for the future for, times where this is going to help those people out who, maybe just need a little bit more of a refresher or missed class for any reason. So this will be applicable for a very long time. Informational writing doesn't change very much, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'll keep those videos up there on that YouTube channel. Keep in mind, this is for my students to help them, get a little bit more exposure to different types of writing and to have, different types of learning styles. So now that I've kind of rambled a little bit about that, we're going to get into this idea of order and sequence. That is the name of today's video and the name of today's lesson for this week. Order and sequence as a type of informational writing. Keep in mind that informational writing is kind of this big umbrella term with a whole bunch of different types of writing in it. Last week we looked at descriptive writing. And we looked at kind of what that would look like. We looked at signal words, and so, that's one type. The second type we're looking at is order and sequence, and we're going to take a look at a couple more before the end of this. So let's take a look at what this means exactly. So what is the purpose of order and sequence? I said that this type of writing is something that you're going to encounter a lot, especially in a workplace. So really, what is the purpose of this type as different from descriptive writing? Well, order and sequence is kind of what it sounds like. It will show events or procedures, sequences, in a time order, right? So think of like instructions on how to build something. First you do this, and then step 2 is you do this, step 3 is you do this. So anytime that I'm writing things in step order, I'm writing in order and sequence. It's helpful for instructional material. So it's really to show somebody how to do something. Right? So ask yourself when you're looking at that, like, what are the steps? How do you do something? And making sure to explain clearly and effectively. So there are some things that, you're going to notice when you're reading order and sequence. Some key words that will kind of tip you off that that's what you're reading. Even if you don't recognize that that is what you're seeing, right? Especially once you've been exposed to this type of material. And there are some things that are going to, tip your brain off to say, hey, this is something I should pay attention to. It's being in an order. But knowing what those words are and knowing how and when to use them is going to make you a more effective writer of this kind of order and sequence. Okay, so let's take a quick look. I gave you a symbol last time, and the symbol this time is kind of this idea of like a box and then a box and then a box, right? So we have step 1, step 2, step 3. So that's kind of how I like to think about it right there. Just a nice symbol reference for you if you like that. So just knowing that it's in time, right? So time is something that's very important in this type of writing. Okay. So some signal words that we can use here. First, second, third. We can also say firstly, secondly, thirdly. Typically, we don't go beyond that to like fourthly, fifthly. You could if you wanted to, but it gets a little bit clunky. But typically, you'll see things like firstly and secondly, possibly thirdly, depending on what you're reading. Next, later, then, right? So I could say first, do this, then do that. Later, you will do this, right? And then you can kind of end with before, followed by, finally. Okay, so these are kind of like a nice little grab bag, mix and match words. Use what makes sense to you and it makes sense to your paragraph. But these are some great ones that you have right here. These are not the entire exhaustive list, but using these words in your writing is really going to make sure that it is clear and concise in terms of people being able to follow your directions. So these are some of the signal words that I've put down here. I have an example that I wrote. So let's take a look at the example and some of the signal words there. I didn't use all of these, but I used some of them. And I used a couple of different ones. And you'll see in context about how these are still signal words. So you'll notice all the signal words that I used are in bold, but I will highlight them as well. We'll go through and take a look at these. Let's do, yeah, perfect. I have my colors up here. Okay, so to make a fire, there are a few steps that you need to follow. Okay, so a couple of things that I could be looking at right here is this idea of steps. Oh, that's too big. Let's see if I can make that just a tad bit smaller. Oops. To make a fire, there are a few steps that you need to follow. Really, this idea that we have a few steps or that there are steps will kind of alert my brain starting off. Oh, that's why it's such a big color. That this is order and sequence. Because we're in a sequence. We're in some sort of like steps. Okay, so our first signal words right here. First, so I'm giving you the first step. You will need to gather a bundle of sticks of different size thicknesses. Next, okay, so we're on to the second step. You will need to organize the sticks into, this is why you should edit, into general piles. This will help you later. So your signal words might not come at the beginning of a sentence, right? I'm giving you a little bit of time. So this is something that's going to happen after. Once you have all of your sticks organized, the next step, all right, I'm giving you that time, we're continuing on, is to create a little pyramid shape with small sticks. Sorry, I got a little distracted by the fact that I have a typo right there, to create. Perfect. And again, we have another signal word, then, right? I'm showing time. Grab some newspaper or other flammable material, and once it's lit, or that idea of once, right? Once this step has happened, put it into the small pyramid you made. Once that is going, so once is kind of, I guess, another signal word, you start to layer the sticks from thinner sticks to thicker sticks. Finally, so I'm showing that there's an end now. Make sure that you keep an eye on your fire and be sure to give it plenty of wood to keep fueling it. So we kind of know through this sequence, right, what's going on. So there's a few steps you need to follow. The first step is you need to gather wood. Right, we saw that from our first. Next, so that's step 2, we need to organize wood into piles. Right, this will help you later, so we're not quite on to step 3 yet. Once you have all your sticks organized, the next step is to create a pyramid shape. Right, with the small sticks. Then we're going to grab some newspaper. And burn. Oh, sorry. And light it. Once it's lit, right, then we're going to put newspaper, that's newspaper right there, into the pyramid. Once that is going, then I'm going to start putting in more sticks. Oh, I need more room. Okay, and then finally, step 7, right, we are going to once that is going, you start layering the sticks from thinner sticks to thicker sticks. So that's kind of like that later part right there. That's where it's going to come into effect. Putting in more sticks. So small to large. And then finally, keep fueling the fire. Okay, so instead of writing it down numbers 1 to 7, I made a paragraph for it. So we have kind of an informational piece right there, but it tells me the order, right? What do I do first and what do I do later? And you'll see that I used a whole bunch of signal words that will help me to understand not only is this order and sequence, but exactly what the order is. Okay, so this week what I'd like you to do is you are going to give this a try yourself. So I want you to write an order and sequence paragraph where you explain how to do something. Make sure you use sequence words in your paragraph. I'm going to be looking for those sequence words. I'm going to be looking that you're using those signal words. If you'd like, you can also bold them. That would be really helpful. Not that you would bold them normally, but, for the purposes of you seeing exactly where you're using them and for me to be able to see where you are using them and, how it's clear, go ahead and bold those words somehow, or if you're writing it, you can always underline them as well. But identify where you're using those signal words for me so that you can see and that I can see where your signal words are. Okay? If you have any questions, leave it in the section below. You can email me. You can message me on Teams. If you're one of my students, that's totally options available to you. But let me know if you're stuck and you'd like to see some more examples, and I'd be happy to give them to you. All right. Have a good week, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.